Hi everyone, John Cottrell here of MBODY Yoga, and this is Soft Flow Yoga. It's a 60-minute gentle yoga practice. Thanks so much for joining me. So this practice is called Blissful Child. Now, why is this class called Blissful Child? Well, let me back up just a little bit. In Sanskrit, there's a term called Ananda Balasana. Ananda Balasana. And that translates to blissful child. But we commonly know that particular pose as happy baby. Blissful child, happy baby. So that's our featured posture today, happy baby pose. So happy baby pose is great because it really opens up tight hips and hip flexors. So that's what we're going to focus on today. So we do need some props for our practice as always. So get a soft blanket or a towel, or even double up on your yoga mats. We will be lying down on our mat, so maybe having something soft underneath you will be quite nice. We'll be also doing some other warm-ups before we get to our featured pose, and a soft cushion like a blanket or towel might be helpful. We will need a yoga strap or something long like a jump rope or any other type of long belt that you might have. I've got my purple yoga strap right here, all ready to go. And a couple of yoga blocks or some hardbound books that will be used for a couple of our postures today as well. And I also like to have a soft pillow nearby. This is my yoga bolster. If you have a big pillow from your bed or sofa, or if you happen to have a yoga bolster, go ahead and have that nearby as well. As always, let's go ahead and begin our practice in a seated position. So do find a comfortable seat. I like to sit in half lotus here on my yoga mat. If this isn't comfortable for you to sit in this fashion, you can always sit in another way. You can just simply cross your legs, easy pose, or if you need to extend your legs today and just give them a little stretch, that's fine. Or even sit up against a wall if you need a little extra support for your back, or even start your practice sitting in a chair. This beginning, we'll start with just some breath work, just to get into our body and to set our intention and to be more mindful and aware. So you might start your practice with a few deep breaths. You might breathe in fully and completely through your nose and exhale completely through your mouth. Do that again. A nice full breath in and exhale. Then just continue to breathe normally here. You can breathe through your nose or a combination of nose and mouth. Just an awareness that you are breathing. You can do this with your eyes opened if you like. You can just gaze forward or even down at the floor, or close your eyes as you begin this journey. Slow, steady breaths. This is mindful breathing. Just listen to the sound of your breath. Very calming and peaceful. And since our practice is going to be focusing on happy baby, you might even think about just a small infant, maybe sleeping, and just listening to the soft sound of its breath. Very subtle, easy, no effort. Slow, steady breaths. Breathe in a way where you can not only hear your breath, but feel your breath. Feel how it moves through your entire body. Generating a new energy within you, perhaps. As we breathe in and out, we're really stimulating prana, the life force or life energy. And allow it to move freely through your entire body. Very nice. As you inhale, just feel the breath rising upward, filling up your lungs. So this might be a more expansive breath. Then as you exhale, draw your navel inward toward your spine. It's just a light pull inward from your belly in toward your spine. It's a light contraction of your abdominal muscles. We call that the abdominal lock. Again, as you inhale, feel breath rising, filling up your lungs. Also feel the extension of your spine, so sit up a little taller. And as you exhale, draw your belly button in towards your spine as you feel that connection to your center body. Take 3 more breaths like this. Let's add a very simple movement. When you're ready, inhale and extend your arms out across the room, then all the way up as if you're going to touch the ceiling. So a nice stretch. Exhale, extend your arms out, reach as if you're going to touch the walls on either side of you. Then bring your arms back down by your side as you complete that first round of breath. Let's do that again. Inhale, extend your arms out, all the way up. A nice reaching sensation towards the ceiling. Exhale, reaching outward, again with good effort, reaching through your fingertips all the way back down. Go ahead and take 3 more breaths like this on your own. Now go ahead and move at your own pace. No worries if you are behind me or even ahead of me as I'm moving. You can continue to breathe and move with your eyes opened or closed. Feel the sensation in your arms and your shoulders. And then when you're complete, just let your hands rest in your lap. Hold here for a moment. Take a breath. While still seated, just going to bring your hands behind you. Just prop yourself up onto your fingertips just to make your arms a little bit longer. And as you bring your arms behind you, also feel the shoulders pull back a little bit so you can experience kind of this opening of your heart space. We're going to tip the chin up just a little bit, creating even more space across the chest. I like to call this a seated mild back bend. You're going to inhale and press your fingertips into the floor. Feel the energy shoot up your arms. Breath is rising to fill your lungs. As you take this expansive breath, feel that stretch right across the chest from shoulder to shoulder. As you exhale, you're still drawing belly button in towards spine to engage the abdominal lock. Let's do that again. Inhale, press into the floor, feel that energy, and feel breath rising, fill up your lungs. Exhale, draw belly button in, and as you're able, squeeze your shoulder blades together and feel that engagement. So a very active body, even though we're in this mild back bend. Feel, notice, pay attention. Take 1 more breath in and out. And after that exhale, just relax. Just lower your chin a little bit to relax your neck. You can walk your hands towards yourself so you can sit up nice and tall. You can just bring your hands to your lap and just hold here in stillness. So we've completed a back bend. Let's move into a forward fold. So if your legs are crossed here, you might want to uncross them. And then place the soles of your feet together so they're touching. The knees will be bent and kind of pointing out to the side. And notice if there's space between you and the floor. And that's perfectly fine. This is where your yoga blocks or some hardbound books, even just some soft pillows, some small pillows can work. And just tuck them underneath the legs so your legs have something to rest on. You still want to sit up nice and tall, and just to support yourself, hold on to your ankles or shins and feel this nicely extended spine. Just hold here for a moment. Now this is a hip opener. It's cobbler's pose. That's a nickname. Just like child's pose is kind of happy baby is kind of a nickname. But a more formal name is bound angle pose. Bound angle. Baddha Konasana in Sanskrit. So it's a hip opener, and so I'm just holding here for a moment just so we can allow the legs to feel the sensation of the inner legs and hips opening. We're going to go a little deeper into this posture, but not too much. Follow me. We're going to inhale and just feel the extended spine, so sit up as tall as you can. Exhale, draw belly button in and just hinge forward a tiny bit, leading with your heart and chin. Just a little bit. We're just adding a little bit more sensation perhaps into the inner legs. I'm going to go just a tiny bit more. So inhale, more extension of spine, lifting the torso so it feels like it's actually lifting up out of the pelvis here. Exhale, hinge forward slightly, and that's about as far as I'm going to take this. I feel this. It's not intense, nor do I want it to be intense. And if I just breathe deeply with intention, I can even imagine I'm sending the breath right into my inner legs. Now, again, this is just kind of a warm-up for our Ananda Balasana, happy baby pose. Because when we do that posture, we're going to do several versions of it. It can feel sometimes a little bit more intense, or at least it'll have a little bit more sensation compared to this particular hip opener. All right, 2 more breaths here. And since the spine is already straight, we're just going to hinge our way back up until we're tall right here. And just come back to stillness. All right, let's go ahead and move our props out of the way. And just carefully manipulate your body. Just swing the legs around behind you so you can come to your hands and knees. This is where your extra padding might come in handy. I've got my blanket. I like to unfold it into a rectangle so I can kneel on it and place my hands here. So I've created this tabletop position. Then inhale and just tip the chin up or look forward, sending the heart forward, arching the back like you're creating a back bend, and you'll form cow pose. When you exhale, you want to tuck the pelvis under, feel that natural curve and rounding of the spine. You're going to feel your belly button pull up towards spine for that engagement, while your chin tips down towards your neck. And then inhale, reverse it, tip the pelvis back, feel the belly drop, arching the back, heart opens, look forward, cow. Exhale, tuck pelvis under, belly button pulls up towards spine for that engagement, rounded spine, chin to chest, cat. Now I just broke that down and I went slowly with that. You can move and breathe, of course, at your own pace. What you mainly want to feel is this undulation of the spine and the rocking of the hips and pelvis. We're going to add something to this in a moment, but first just feel this natural flow and rhythm of the spinal movement through cat and cow. Take one more breath in and out. And after that breath, just return here to a neutral tabletop position. Now that can be a lot of pressure on the hands, even though we have something soft underneath us. So let's take a little break. Tuck your toes under and just sit back towards the heels. Just enough where you can take the weight off of your hands. And let's just give the hands a nice circle here, something like this. And even just flip the palms the other way. And then just give a gentle press on your soft pad. I like to do like 3 slow, gentle pulses. Nothing too strenuous. You don't want to strain that. And again, more circles, even wiggling your fingers, just to rest the wrist a little bit. And then we're going to come back out onto hands and knees. Now for cat and cow, we're just kind of moving this direction. I'm going to have you wag your tail. I'm just going to turn this way so you can kind of see my hips move behind me. So just kind of a movement to your left and then to your right. Just left and right. I'm kind of moving my whole torso along with the hip, and that's fine because it kind of gets into the outer hip and glute area, kind of right down through here. At least for me it does. Okay, so you might kind of sway a little bit, but if you can't, just move the tail. Okay, just a different kind of rocking sensation. Can you see that? I'm just moving the hip side to side rather than tucking and rounding like that. So side to side, just a different sensation. All right, maybe 2 or 3 more on each side as you're wagging your tail. Come back to stillness, and then go ahead and crawl off of your pad. We'll set it to the side. Return to hands and knees here. We're going to get set up for downward facing dog. So you're going to step your hands forward a little bit. As you do so, spread out your fingers pretty wide so you get a stretch between each finger and kind of the webbing parts of the hands. And then press into the floor with your palms so it flattens the palms and stretches them out a little bit. And as you press, feel the energy and strength in your strong, straight arms. Tuck your toes under. We'll do one more cat-cow. So inhale, look up or look forward, arch your back. That's the back bend for cow. Exhale, round it all out for cat. Hold cat pose like so. Make sure your toes are tucked. And with another exhale, just lift your knees off the ground, send your hips into the air, and you've moved into downward facing dog. I'm just adjusting my feet a little bit. I like to take them a tiny bit wider. I'm also going a little bit wider. Just letting the hips float up into the air. You can wag your tail again. Since dogs do wag their tails, we're in downward facing dog, so we're just going to wag the tail. And now we'll just step forward until the feet are flat on the mat, maybe just to the center of your mat, and then just slide your fingertips toward your toes. You'll be in forward fold. Then inhale, slide your hands up to your shins or knees and extend your spine. We're going to pause here so we have a nice flat back like a table. Be sure your knees stay bent here. You're going to feel the natural activation in your hamstrings. I'm just bracing myself here. You can even place your hands on your thighs, but you want to ensure you have a very straight spine. You even feel like your hips and tailbone are moving towards the wall behind you, while the crown of your head is leading you forward. Now I'm shifting my weight back a bit into my heels so I can easily tap my toes, bend my knees, lower the hips, lifting the chest, and even take arms out to the side. Then as we inhale, extend the arms straight up into the air for a nice stretch. Exhale, bring your arms down to your side, and we've arrived in mountain pose, so our first standing position. I'm just going to stretch things out. You can shake things out, and just meet me here in mountain pose. Mountain pose formally has the palms facing forward. And what that does, it just creates kind of a natural outer rotation for the shoulder here. And it actually opens you up across the chest. Just a little tip. Alrighty, let's do a half salute to the sun, which is basically just folding forward and coming back up gently. Here we go. I'm just standing near the top of the mat. You can join me. Inhale, sweep your arms out and up into the air. Exhale, spread your wings, bend your knees, and sit back into an imaginary chair. Go slowly, coming down. Let gravity take over. Your hands will drop. Your head might drop. You'll be in forward fold. Inhale, slide your hands back up to your shins or knees. We'll hold here on the exhale for half forward fold, that flat back tabletop position. Now shift weight into your heels, bend your knees, lift your heart, extend your arms out to the side, and inhale, reach once again up into the air, and exhale, arms return down to your side. Feel free to roll the shoulders, shake things out. And if your wrists need a little rest like we did a little earlier, just circle the wrists like so and even wiggle the fingers. Okay, now we're ready for our full sun salutation. Let me adjust my mat and then you can join me. Here we go. We're going to inhale, extend the arms up into the air. Feel that nice stretch along the sides of your body. Exhale, swan dive forward. So arms come down to your side, bend your knees, sit back and fold forward, maybe touching the ground. Inhale, slide your hands up to your shins or knees, extending through your spine. This exhale, fold, just slowly slide down the legs. Bend your knees a whole lot more so you can reach the floor with your hands. Place your hands on your mat and just start walking the feet back until they end up at the back end of your mat. And then you'll just lower your hips a bit so you draw this straight line. And this is plank pose. Let's breathe in. In the exhale, bend your knees a little. Send your hips into the air. And it returns us to downward facing dog. I don't know if you can notice, if you're seeing me, there's a lot of distance between my hands and my feet. And that's because of this transition. I'm kind of long as it is. And so from plank pose and just sending the hips into the air, I get this position. And I don't feel quite steady here. So typically I tiptoe forward just a little bit. And so you might want to do the same. I might not cue that every time, but you might need to do it every time. just so your hips feel much higher, and it might even secure your pose. All right, let's continue. We're going to pick up the right foot and extend the right leg back behind you. Just reach back. It doesn't have to be high. Exhale, bend your right knee. Bring your right knee in underneath you. This is hip work. Okay, just getting that joint in action. Bring that knee in towards chin or chest. At the same time, shift your whole upper body forward until your shoulders feel aligned over your wrists. Go ahead and set this right foot down. You can be on your toes, heel lifted. We're going to set the left knee onto the floor. Lots of pressure in the hands at this moment. We're just going to pull back so there is actually less weight in the hand. So you can easily pick up your right hand. Go get your right foot, especially if it's way back behind you here. I'm just kind of picking up and sliding it forward so it's up closer to my right hand. You can see it's kind of behind my right hand. Then re-lift the left knee. My weight is still forward, so I still need to shift the body weight back. I'm also going to turn this left leg kind of outward so I can get the whole heel on the floor. Still a whole lot of weight forward. So I'm just walking my hands back. See how my hips also pull back? And I'm finding more of a centered place in my own body. That way the hands feel much more light. The leg is going to kind of take the brunt of this and not my hands. Walk one hand, then two up to the thigh. Push into the mid-thigh, not your knee, mid-thigh, so you can extend your spine and even tip head forward like you're going to go forward. Hopefully you still feel balanced here. Strong legs are in action. We're going to take the arms out to the side, hinge your way up, nice and tall, and go ahead and take the arms all the way up. Reach high and make sure you're bending this right knee just a little bit. Facing forward, just for a breath. And then as you exhale, just bring the arms down. We're going to keep the leg posture. Okay, we're in a warrior one leg position. Be sure your right knee and your toes are pointing forward. We haven't bent it too much. We're certainly not out here. But what you may notice, because of this outer spiral or outer rotation of this left leg, you may get a little stretch or just some sensation in the left hip flexor here. So that's why we're holding this pose. This too is going to kind of help us when we get ready, because this is part of getting ready for happy baby pose. Let's go ahead and inhale and re-extend the arms up into the air. Exhale, hinge and fold. Make your way back down to the floor. Plant your hands strongly. We're going to re-lift that left heel. This way, all 10 toes are pointing forward. The hips are more aligned. Press hands strongly into the ground. Straight arms. Slide or pull the right foot back. There's our plank pose. Hold. We are going to take a little break here. Set the knees down. All right, we're going to sit back a little bit. Actually, I'm going to keep my toes tucked. Sit back so I can just, again, just take a little relief for the wrists. Okay, we're going to do the other side. Take your time here. Whenever you need to rest, even though I might still be teaching, just take the time that you need to rest any part of your body. All right, hands out front, spread out your fingers, get that nice stretch. Pressing palms into the floor to stretch. Open the hands, strong straight arms. Toes are tucked, lifting the knees, hips into the air. Now, this time I really don't need to adjust too much because of that kneeling posture. My feet weren't too far away. Now, other side. Inhale, pick up the left foot and extend the left leg back. Exhale. Inhale, see if you can get a little longer here. With the exhale now, bend the left knee, bring the knee in underneath you towards your chest, shifting body forward so your shoulders are over the wrists. We're setting the left set of toes down. That heel is lifted. Right knee comes down. If the weight is way forward, just pulling back so we have lightness in the hands. You can pick up the left hand so you can actually go back and pick up the left foot and just step it up a little higher. We're just creating more distance between the feet once we get into our lunge. Replace that left hand, relift the right knee, outer spiral of that right leg, placing the heel on the floor. You can see my weight is still forward. I'm just kind of pulling the hips back. Nice knee bend. I'm placing one hand, then two hands up onto the thigh, pushing into the mid-thigh to help extend spine. My torso is long, kind of right out over this front leg. There. Taking the arms out to the side. A lot of leg work here just to help hinge my way up, reach up into the air to get that length through the sides of the body and It also opens the hips. I'm lunging forward. We're going to rest the arms again for a moment so we can pay attention now to the right leg. The right leg is outwardly spiraling. We're maybe getting some sensation like a stretch in the right hip flexors, just kind of above that thigh area, right below the belt line. Preparing for our happy baby pose. Inhale, extend your arms up into the sky. Then exhale, hinge forward, carefully coming down, plant the hands, relift that right knee, press into the floor. You might even lift the hips a little bit if you can, so you have a little bit more space and it's easier to slide this left foot back into plank pose. Let's hold here as strongly as we can. Now we're setting the knees down. All right, new posture. Sit all the way back if you're able to hero pose. This is hero pose, but we're also just going to sit off to the side and swing the legs around to the front. Scoot so you're sitting in the center of your mat because you need some room behind you. Be sure you've got your blocks nearby or your books and just have them nearby as well. We're going to lie down. So go ahead and lie down. I'll meet you there in a second after I've adjusted my mat. Go ahead and draw the knees into chest and feel free to create space in your low back by creating circles, figure eights. You want to feel your sacrum as kind of just the low back area, making contact with the floor. There's some light pressure, but also some movement. And now, since also our feet are free, you can maybe circle your ankles, just like we circled the wrists. You can do the same with your ankles. Flex and point, and even wiggle your toes. Now, this is the posture we're going to be working with later as we get into happy baby pose, because it is done on the back. But we're going to get into a back bend first. So set the feet onto the floor. You probably can't see this, but I took the feet kind of wide. My feet are wider than my hips. You can do that as well. I do that for me because it just provides a little bit more space in my back and hips, and it just feels better for me. Alrighty? Make sure you've got your books or blocks nearby. You're going to inhale, fill up your lungs. Exhale through the mouth, empty your belly. Using that energy you've created to press your feet into the floor to lift your hips high enough so you can slide your props underneath you. It might be just one big block or book. My blocks happen to be thin, so I use 2 blocks. This can also be done with a big cushion, like a big firm cushion, like your yoga bolster. I'm going to adjust my feet a little bit. They're nicely connected to the floor, and just rest my arms down on the floor. I really like this version of bridge pose. It is a back bend, but it's mild. Just like our seated back bend we did earlier. Very mild in nature, mainly because we're sitting. We don't have to engage too much to hold ourselves up. So we get a natural opening through the whole front body, not forced at all. And maybe you're able to hold this for a long period of time. Sometimes I like to prescribe yoga homework. So when you're not taking a class from me or other instructors, you can do your yoga homework. And that might just taking a couple of minutes, and it only takes a couple of minutes to move into one pose. And maybe that one pose is something like this, bridge pose, that you hold for, 2 or 3 minutes. That's it. And that can be not only your yoga homework, but your whole yoga practice. All right, go ahead and take 2 more breaths. Then when you're ready, just energize and press the feet into the floor, lift your hips. You're going to feel that engagement to slide your books or blocks out from underneath you and come safely back down to the ground. Go ahead and extend your legs out front and your arms behind you just to lengthen and make space in your low back. I like to add a little movement here as well. All right, go ahead and bring knees into chest. We're going to come to seated. You can certainly rock your way up to seated or roll to one side and then press yourself up to seated. Let's do a version of boat pose that I like to do in soft flow. So boat pose is a dynamic core strengthening posture, which means we're lifting the legs and arms, something like this. But we're going to do a more mild version. This version keeps our feet on the floor, but do flex your feet. And again, my feet and legs are wide here. So heels on the floor, flexed feet, and then hands behind you, just in a comfortable place, something like this. Now you want to sit up nice and tall, so you can maybe use your hands to sit up as tall as you can with a lengthened spine like this. Exhale, pull belly button in towards spine. Now if you're sitting like this, nice and tall, and actively engaging your core muscles, you will feel this. But we're going to step the hands back and lean back. You can even bend your elbows, just to add a little bit more tension into your core system. So the farther back you go, the more active your abs may become. Now we're going to keep this version, but if you want to take this one step further and really add a little bit more tension to your core muscles, you might bring the hands forward or even just hold on to your legs like this, and that way you can lean back under control, but you're still feeling this engagement in your core. Now I can really feel this. Let's take 2 more breaths. All right, after that second breath, if you're holding on to your legs, you can just pull yourself up. If your hands were still behind you, just push yourself up. Now let's just extend the legs for a moment. Just let the feet relax since they were flexed. Let's add another hip opener, which I really like, and it's all related. Happy baby pose and even cobbler's pose. But instead of this position, we're going to extend one leg. So keep the right leg extended, bend your left knee, and bring the foot to inner thigh, like that. Now, if that's too high up, meaning if that's too much bend in the knee, you can always slide this foot down the leg. And maybe that'll take some of that bend out of the knee if you have sensitive knee joints. And again, this does not have to touch the floor. Just bring a pillow, a rolled up towel, a book, or a block underneath. This is called Janu Shirshasana, so another Sanskrit word, and it translates to head to knee pose. Now, we're not literally going to bring our head out to our knee. This is your knee. Head to knee pose. We're not going to bring the head here, but we're just going to move in that direction. So you want to inhale, sit up as tall as you can. Exhale, draw belly in, hinge forward, leading with heart and chin. Your hands might be on the floor for a little support or even holding onto the leg and going forward. Maybe just enough until you feel a little bit more of a stretch and extension and lengthening through this straight right leg, and maybe a little bit opening in this left inner leg. I really like this pose because it's multifunctional. Lots of things are happening. So not only do we have this hamstring stretch and this hip opener, but if you allow your back to round, for example, you might even get a nice stretch in your back. I'm going to go ahead and round the spine here, lower the chin, allowing myself to go a little bit deeper into the pose. Okay, now I'm really feeling this. It's not intense, but I do feel a little bit more happening in my right hamstring because I'm folding a little bit deeper. I feel a light sensation in the inner left leg and definitely feel the stretch in my back. So that's what you want to do. Like, I'm just giving you ideas or suggestions on how or what you might be feeling and where you're feeling it, but you really want to pay attention to what you're actually feeling. I'm just using my own body as reference here. 2 more breaths in our head to knee pose. And notice I'm not even touching my knee with my head. Okay, just using my hands on the floor to help lift myself back up nice and tall here. Re-extend the left leg, just pausing here for a moment. And then bending the right knee. Same thing, maybe right foot to inner left thigh. If it reaches, check in with your right knee to see how this feels, or slide it down the leg a little bit. Use props to support the leg. Now we're ready. Want to sit up nice and tall. Inhale. Exhale, draw belly in, lead with the heart and chin as you hinge forward. Now, if you're able, keep this leg as straight as possible. But you are, of course, welcome to bend the knee if you need to bend the knee, especially if you decide you're going to go a little deeper. Remember, you're not forcing this, you're not going too far. This is our soft flow class. The reminder here is to move into your pose, not 100%, but back up to maybe 60%. So I do feel sensation. I'm letting my back round, my chin is lowered. I'm keeping my left leg mostly straight, so I do feel a light stretch in the hamstring, and I also feel some release in my right inner leg, right hip. All right, we're getting close to our happy baby pose segment. Let's take 3 more breaths here. And then maybe use your hands to help crawl back up, nice and tall. Re-extend your spine. There we are. You can just pause. You can even re-extend the right leg and just come briefly to what's called staff pose. Maybe use your hands on the floor by your hips to maintain that extended spine. Alrighty. We're going to lie back down, but before we do, you might want a couple of things. One thing for sure you'll need is your strap. So have your strap nearby. The other thing you might want to have is something soft underneath you, like a blanket or a towel. I'm just going to use my blanket for a demonstration here. I'm going to open it up a little bit because it's kind of thick, just for my head, but you can actually unfold it, and lie it across the entire mat if you want to, just for a little extra padding underneath you, just in case you need a little extra support for your whole back body, since we're going to be lying down. All right, so grab your strap. Now you can sit up and watch this and then get into the pose, or if you can still see me while lying down, go ahead and do that. So you're going to lie down. I'll try to give you clear instructions. Lying down, knees bent, feet flat on the floor, and maybe just holding on to your strap. And just hold here for a moment. Just let everything soften. Just take some deep breaths, make this reconnection to the breath. I'm going to start with my left leg since it's closer to you, and hopefully you'll be able to see it a little bit better. Let's start by extending the right leg out in front onto the floor. Lightly flex the right foot. Just want to keep that leg active. Draw the left knee in toward your body, just lifting the foot. Unravel your strap here. We're going to wrap the strap around the sole of the foot. Lots of slack so you can hold on to it. We're going to first just extend the leg. Don't worry about how straight it is. It doesn't have to be straight up, just up. Okay, just extend it. Because we're just going to feeling how long your strap is and how much control you can have of the foot with your foot in the strap. So this is my left leg. I'm going to hold onto the strap in my left hand. And you can see I'm just going to kind of wrap the strap around my hand so I've got a good hold like that. Here comes happy baby. Now we're actually doing half happy baby. Just means that we're only doing one leg at a time for this pose. Here we go. We're bending the left knee. Instead of bringing it directly towards the chest, here we're taking it slightly to the outside of the body, like that. So the knee is going down towards the floor. And I'm readjusting my hand on my strap here so I have better control. And then the foot is flexed, but trying to get the sole of the foot to face the ceiling. Now for a little extra balance, because I feel like I'm falling to this side, my right arm is reaching across to the right side of the room. So I'm gently giving this strap a tug here, so I feel like the left knee is coming down towards the floor on the outside of my body. Now it's not going to touch the floor, and you certainly don't have to reach the floor. That's not the goal here. Even if your leg is way up here, but you're feeling a little stretch in the inner leg, especially in the hip socket here, then you're doing it correctly, as long as you have sensation. Okay, this is my personal depth here. You want to find your personal depth. Now we're doing one leg at a time because I like this version. It allows us to get a little deeper into the pose. working one leg at a time. You'll notice something different when we do two legs at the same time. All right, so a lot of holding here, a lot of control. How about 2 more breaths? And we're going to release. I'm just softening here so I can then just slide the strap off the foot, setting the foot down, and just extend the leg. And just lie flat for a moment so everything starts to relax. Take a breath. Meanwhile, I'm just switching hands with the strap. Okay, we've extended the left leg. Give that left foot a light flex. Let's draw the right knee in. Let's see if we can lasso this foot with the strap and just give it a little extension, just so you can get a good hold of the strap, maybe up high, okay? Because we are bending the knee. We're going to bend the knee, and at first it might come directly towards your chest or shoulder, but we're going to send it off to the side. I'm wrapping my hand around the strap so I have more control, bending the knee, and I'm guiding the knee down by pulling on the strap. Alrighty, now this arm feels like it's really working hard because it's up in the air, it's holding onto the strap. Now what you could do, maybe if your strap is long enough, a little bit more slack here, and actually I can set my elbow on the floor. Now the arm is on the ground, but I still have control of the strap and the foot. And so that won't wear out my arm, so I won't get too tired, okay? So this feels much better because the other side I have my arm in the air. This one feels a little bit better. Okay, so again, working one leg at a time. So half happy baby pose, one leg at a time, perhaps getting a little deeper. Notice the sensations. You might even feel a stretch in your hamstring here, in the hip, as it's opening with the guidance of this pose and support of the strap. 2 more breaths. After the second breath, just going to relax that and release the strap, extend the leg, and just hold here. All right, we're done with the strap for now, so just set it to the side and just hold here in Shavasana for a moment. Now, we're not at the end of the practice just yet, but just really an opportunity for you to reconnect with your body, reconnect with your breath, let the physicality of these poses relax and come back to a baseline. All right, we're going to come back up to seated before we return to the second version of happy baby pose. So bend your knees, feet on the floor, roll to one side, and press yourself up. I'm going to face you for this one. So we're just going to return to cobbler's pose or bound angle. And let's just check in to see if there's any change. So let's see if there's any difference between this version and the version we did near the beginning of our practice. Now what I'm also going to do is sit on the blanket here. It just gives me a little bit more back support. So you can do the same, or just having something soft underneath you. So just as we did earlier, I had you bring the soles of your feet together. You can draw them in closely. That also means more bend in the knees. So if this is uncomfortable for your hips or your knees, then you can slide the feet forward. That might make it a little bit more comfortable. And like we did before, you're welcome to tuck some props underneath the legs so they're relaxed. But you may also want to try this without the props here and allow gravity to kind of pull the legs down. Alrighty, we're going to add a little bit more sensation by lifting up and then hinging forward like we did earlier. And because there's nothing underneath the legs and gravity is kind of pulling the legs down, we are creating a little bit more of a pull and stretch in the legs. Now hopefully we are warm enough, so just check in with your body. Because we've done poses like this already, we've done this pose already, and we also have done the happy baby pose, along with some other postures that do open the hips. So just notice how this feels for you. Our initial posture, we used props for the legs. We've moved them away this time First time we kept the spine straight. Feel free here to lower the chin and let the back round. It just creates a little bit more space so you can go deeper into the pose without compromising the pose, and it hopefully doesn't feel like you're forcing yourself into the pose. Now I really feel this. Again, it's not intense, but I do feel the change. I feel the difference between the first version of this and now our second version of this. 3 more breaths. And since the back is rounded, to help re-extend the spine, you might want to lift the chin first. That will start that re-extension of the spine. Maybe use your hands on the floor to help hinge your way back up so you're nice and tall. Alrighty, now we're gonna lie down again and take our second version of Happy Baby pose. And just like the first version, I want you to notice the difference. The first version we did one leg at a time, which may have allowed you to go deeper into the pose. And now feel the difference here. All right, I'm just going to move my blanket out of the way this time. We don't need our strap this time. Sit in the center of your mat, roll down. You can draw both knees into chest. You might add that same circle and movement, that nice massage for the low back area if you need it. Check in with your feet. Now, we're going to lightly flex the feet. You're holding onto the shins or knees, maybe more at the knees, and take the legs wide out to the side here. Now, this also I would consider a version of Happy Baby pose. Just taking the legs wide, holding them open here. So let's go ahead and hold this for a moment. You might take your hands, they're on the inside of the legs, maybe up by the knees, and what you're doing, if you can picture this, I'm actually kind of pushing my legs or knees outward, okay, out to the sides of the room, and at the same time gently down towards the floor. So out and down, which adds a little bit more sensation to the inner legs. A nice complementary pose to the recline or to the bound angle pose. Now we're going to keep this leg width, okay, this opening of the legs. Now we're going to kick the feet up into the air. Now if you're able, either hold on to your ankles and gently pull down, or if you can, reach up, grab hold of the soles of the feet. My arms are on the inside of the legs. I just feel like that's easier. Grab hold of the inside, hold on to the soles of the feet from the inside of the legs, and then gently press down. Now notice, is there any difference in depth perhaps, or even sensation compared to the first version when we did one leg at a time? It might feel a little different. I know for me it's showing up differently in the back, in my back body, since one leg isn't extended. So this has a different feeling in my back. It does have a different feeling in the hips. We're working in unison here, working both legs at the same time. Notice the sensations. You can hold in stillness here. Sometimes I like to add a little rocking sensation. When I add the rocking sensation, this is what really reminds me of a baby. Now you've probably seen babies do this. This is probably why it's called Happy Baby. You'll see a little infant on its back and they kick their feet up and they can hold on to their feet. So Ananda Balasana, Blissful Child, Happy Baby. All right, really feeling this. Let's take another version of bound angle pose. This is just a reclining version. We're still bringing the soles of the feet together, like so, holding on to the feet, and with a gentle press of the heels down towards the pelvis, and at the same time feeling like your knees here are moving forward. See how my legs kind of pushed forward? Different sensation, but I've got good support because I'm holding onto my feet and ankles. Supta Baddha Konasana. Supta just means reclining or lying down. Supta Baddha Konasana. Baddha means bound, and the binding part is just basically you holding on to your feet. That's the bind. Konasana just means angled pose, angle pose. All right, one more version of this one, which I really like. Keep the feet pressed together, but set the feet onto the floor so we're no longer holding on to the feet. Feet are on the floor, soles are touching, knees are bent, hips are open. So a little bit more of a stretch and pull on the inner legs, but a little bit more relaxed in the entire body. Take some deep breaths. Now, if this feels a little bit too much, and sometimes it can be, because again, gravity is pulling on the legs, so it might pull significantly on those inner legs. So if your blocks are nearby, mine are kind of nearby, or whatever prop you might have, you can place them underneath the legs as high as you need this to be, so it doesn't feel like it's so much of a pull. Now this feels quite nice, actually. I don't feel that pull anymore. So you might do both, where you let gravity do its thing, pull and stretch, maybe 5-10 breaths, and then support the legs by placing props underneath them so they don't feel like they're being overly stretched. And then you can rest more comfortably, perhaps. Let's take 3 more breaths. This is very nice, very restful. So that's our happy baby segment. Lots of hip openers and some of the postures that are certainly related to that happy baby pose. I'm going to bring my knees together, plant the feet into the floor, and move my blocks to the side. Actually, let's use the blocks again. We're going to do an inverted pose. So I'm just stacking my blocks or books, feet on the floor, knees bent. Press feet into the floor to lift the hips high enough again to get the blocks or just one block underneath you or even a pillow. Sit, get comfortable here. Let's do a leg extension. Okay, take one leg and then maybe 2 legs if you can up into the air. And so this is our version of going upside down, maybe something similar to like a headstand or handstand, or even a pose that's called shoulder stand. But in all those cases, the feet are above the heart. We're extending up into the sky like this. So just briefly here, you're going to feel some leg engagement. You can get into the movement of your free feet here if it feels good. You can do this propped on blocks or books or a pillow. You can just do this flat on the floor, just lie flat and just extend the legs. I just feel that the props just give me a little added support. All right, let's go ahead and bend the knees, set the feet back down onto the floor carefully, press into the floor so you can lift your hips and remove your props. Come all the way down. Go ahead and hug your knees into chest. Let's take a twist here. Or just send the knees, both knees, over to the left side while you extend your right arm over to the right side. This is affecting the low back, maybe even your hips. Just stretching and providing some relief into these areas that have done their work. Take some deep breaths here. Three more breaths on this first side. When you're ready, slowly returning to center. You might pause in center, just hold onto the knees, hug them in, allowing your spine to come back to neutral. And then we'll take the knees over to the other side. Knees to the right, extend your left arm to the left. You can also provide some support here. If the legs don't go all the way over, you can also place something either between the knees, especially if the legs don't touch, nor do they have to touch. So maybe like a rolled up towel between the knees, or even something tucked underneath the right leg. If it's not touching the floor, place something underneath you to close the gap. So a block, a blanket, a towel. That way you won't over-rotate. but still get the benefit of the twist. Let's take 3 more breaths here. When you're complete, carefully return to center. You can hug the knees into your body. And then extend the legs out in front of you onto the floor. Moving into Shavasana. Legs straight out front, arms down by your side, perhaps with your palms up. You're very welcome to place something soft underneath your body. You can even elevate your legs. That also might feel very good to elevate the legs, because sometimes just lying flat on the floor isn't the most comfortable position. It might feel better even just to lie down with your knees bent, or even tuck some pillows underneath bent knees. And maybe they don't have to be this bent. Let me just show you. This is how that pillow or cushion can be of assistance to you. I'm just going to bring in my bolster, and it's low enough so I can just extend the legs, but it's high enough so I can keep the knees bent. And this is very restful too. And while you're here, return to your breath. Soft, gentle, easy. Feel free to keep your eyes opened or close your eyes. Once again, our focus was on happy baby. And so you might recreate that image of maybe the sleeping baby, softly breathing, ease and calm, no effort. Stay here as long as you like. You've done your work, so this is your opportunity to rest. So take advantage of this moment. There's certainly no rush to come out of this pose or to break away from this calm. Even as I end the practice and come up to seated, you're welcome to stay in your comfortable restorative position. Whether it's Shavasana, a pose with props to support your body, or any other pose that you find relaxing. When it is time to move, start with breath. Feel the movement of your breath. Take 5 deep breaths. And as you're taking these deep breaths, feeling this pranic energy moving through your entire body, just as you established at the beginning of your practice. But even think of this as a new freshness, a new energy moving through your body. Feel movement return easily, gracefully. And when you feel ready, take your time, move as slowly as you can. You might start by rolling to one side. You might need to move your props out of the way. Come to a nurturing pose. I like to think of this as a nice close relative to happy baby pose. This nurturing quality. And then press yourself up to seated. Come to a comfortable seat. Nice long spine. You can let your hands rest in your lap or bring your hands to heart center. Take one more breath. Deep inhale, complete exhale. And as we come to the close of our practice together, we bow saying, Namaste. Thank you so much for watching and participating in this yoga lesson. To help us with the channel so we can continue to bring you more content, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It's really appreciated. Namaste.